Hello everyone. So I've got the pleasure of introducing Aaron Weiss. So now entering its 6th year, the San Marino Motor Classic was recently deemed Pebble Beach South and is slowly becoming one of the most prestigious automobile shows in the nation. Ever since its inception, however, the event has always been one of the most profitable shows, generating hundreds of thousands of dollars for local charities. Aaron Weiss is most recently known as co-founder and chairman for the event, and was named a Paul Harris Fellow by the Rotary Club of San Marino. Yet, in addition to his incredible work for the Motor Classic, he is also a devoted husband of over 40 years, loving father of 5, and committed USC Trojan. He was also the longtime Scoutmaster for Boy Scout Troop number 358, with all 4 of his sons becoming Eagle Scouts. Please give a warm round of applause for my dear friend, Aaron Weiss.
How are you working this?
Why don't you say hello and I'll start asking questions.
Okay, I've been told to watch my mouth.
Why is that?
Why is women here? Well, I want to thank you all for having me again. I can't believe it, twice, and you want more. But it's a privilege to be here. This is a unique organization that represents the city. A lot of small towns don't have a city club. And on behalf of the Motor Classic and several hundred volunteers that work there, we want to thank the city for their generosity in giving us the park, and all the volunteers in putting up with a lot of semi-tractors and trailers in front of your homes on the day of the event. So we realize it's an imposition, but I haven't heard anybody turning away the money. Last year, well, this is our 5th year, this will be our 6th year, but after 5 years, we've raised over $1 million for charity. The primary beneficiaries are the Pasadena Humane Society, and then there's San Marino Rotary Foundation. And this is really a good thing, because that way you don't have to depend on me to decide where the money goes, because you wouldn't be happy. So the Rotary acts as a conduit, and it goes to our schools foundation, it goes to civic projects, scholarships, the schools, and a lot of different charitable organizations that need the money. So it's really well spent. The soccer field at Stoneman School was built with Motor Classic money, as was the playground at Lacey Park. So it's good that that money is going well, but we could do a whole lot better. We could do twice as well, and that is, we need more support from the community. We have an influential community, and we need to have more support of people who can bring us sponsors, donors, vendors, and participants to the event. Where we're happy today this year, I think we'll clear about $300,000 at the end of the day. We could clear $1 million. But we can never clear $1 million without the support of the city of San Marino. Couldn't do the 300 without you either, for that matter, but we could do a whole lot better. And so I would encourage some of you who are retired or have influence or have nothing better to do, I can entertain you much longer periods of time than would have been allotted tonight. And we do need help on various committees and selling magazine ads and getting people to write checks. We've been known to hang some people by their feet until all the money comes out, but we finally get there. So this year we should have a pretty good show. And what I want to highlight just briefly, because a lot of you know that the show's on the 12th of June, and that should be tattooed on each one of your foreheads, is that on the 11th, the night of the 11th, we have a gala. And for years we had a gala up at my collection. It was kind of boring. And I decided one afternoon we needed to do something different. And I won't tell you about my epiphany, but we decided that the Trojan Marching Band would really be a lot of fun. And so last year, for the first time, we had a gala in the park. We had 300 people there, and we chose 8 cars that were supposed to be important to the history of the automobile. One of them was an 1886 Mercedes patent motor wagon. That's the first car ever patented and commercially sold. anywhere in the world. So we have that car, and it comes up, and the women will handle this easier. We had a runway like a fashion show. Guys, none of you have been to a fashion show. You have no idea what I'm talking about, as it should be. And car comes up, and my friend here, Joe Consineri, is in his '03 Cadillac with grandson guiding him along the way, and gets up there, and we talk about the car for a few minutes. And this is a really great gala. We don't introduce anybody. We don't pollute your mind with introductions. We just we're there to do business. And the car comes up, and we talk about the car, and then the band breaks into music paired with the era of the car. Now, for those of you who are not familiar with the Trojan Marching Band, it's electric. The people were dancing in their seats. It was really amazing. So, for the mere $250 a head that this costs, you get, this is a good deal. One of my friends, he's celebrating his 35th wedding anniversary, and he's taking his wife to this because he thinks it's such a good deal.
What does she think?
We haven't asked her. It's going to be a surprise. You know, I look around the room, everybody's been married for at least 10 years. And, you know, I mean, like, the old thing of going to some overpriced restaurants kind of become passé. And so this will be well worth it. So you'll get there, there's complimentary valet parking. They promised me they would not key your car or drive it too far. It's best to come there with an empty tank. And then we'll have golf carts to get you into the park, for those of you who have some issues. And then we will go ahead and we have a hosted bar. You can't even tip the bartender. You will leave with as much money as you came with. And this is amazing for me, because I usually don't allow that. We have little radars that check you out as you come in. Then the band, so that's for an hour. And then when you're done, we get you to your seat. We have people to help you get you to your seat, as a matter of fact, because you may need some help. And the Trojan Marching Band will come into the park, and you can hear the drum line. And it's absolutely unmistakable who they are, what's going on. And there's about 120 band members, and they're in their outfits, sunglasses, the whole deal. And they come in, and they get on the stage, and then we start bringing the cars over, and they play a song that's paired to the era of the car. So when they brought that Mercedes patent wagon, they played a Scott Joplin rag. Now, you ever heard the Trojan Marching Band play a Scott Joplin Maple Leaf rag? It's well worth the $250, let me tell you. And so we went through the evening, and then you get a full gourmet dinner. There's wine on the table. And then about 9:30, because we have some regard for the people who live around the park, we kick you out. You might get your car, and then you go home, and you can come back. That dinner ticket will get you back in the park the next day. Okay, and then we have 8 gourmet roach coaches there to feed you, unless you want to give me more money, and there's a VIP tent with more wine and better food. We should get about, well, you know, it's just the fact of the matter, it's how it works. And we should have about 250 cars in the park, so there's a little bit for everything. There's going to be brass era cars. I know some of you probably got your driver's license in one. And then they'll move forward into the 20s, 30s, 40s. Then we'll go into 50s. There's a muscle class of muscle cars, Woodies, Ferraris for the Ferrari group, and we also have a class of 4 GTs, which is kind of rare. So we got a little bit for everybody, and you come into the park, but it's not a car. Don't think of it, oh, it's a car show and yuck, I hate cars. Think of it as a community endeavor. It's a community event to raise money for our community. And the best part of it is most of the people are from outside of the community. So we're making money on outsiders, as much as we hate to have them here in San Marino. But trust me, most of them have gotten the visa, it's okay. We did a criminal background check on every one of them. They will not rob your home. I might, but they won't. Because I'll know where you are. But by and large, it'll be a great afternoon. And don't think about the cars, think about seeing your friends and having lunch with your friends and just having a good time in the park. The outside world has never been to San Marino, and I think it's important we bring people into our town. because we need to keep our housing values up, and unless we get people to buy them when we don't want them any longer, we're going to be in trouble. And second of all, it's just, most people haven't been there, but most people who do visit our park will tell you it's the most pretty park in America. It's probably one of the nicest public parks anywhere, and I got to tell you that it was designed for a car show, because we have the road around the perimeter, and it works perfect, and it's absolutely flat. Okay, for those of you with bad bladders, we have thought of you. We will have ample restrooms, and they will be cleaned every 30 minutes. So the people who go at 9 o'clock in the morning and the people who go at 3 o'clock, they'll be just as clean. Just want to let you know, you can stay there all day and be comfortable. So I got them all. So what you can do, you can throw money at me now, or Rotary is selling tickets. And I got to tell you about the Rotary Club, that last year we gave them $75,000 cash. But that wasn't good enough, these Rotarians. They're greedy little buggers. One of them is not here tonight, which I never recognize people, but this person would be great. At the age of 92, she led a group that sold 3,000 tickets last year. Netting the Rotary Club of San Marino another $54,000. So these poor people in Rotary only made somewhere around $128,000 last year. And what really brought warmth to my heart is it was so much so fast they didn't know where to spend it. So I would hear from my friends, Mr. Hung here, that the meetings, and they just couldn't figure out what to do with it all. And I thought that was really good, because I knew exactly what I would do with that kind of money. Yeah, so anyway, by and large, I really, sincerely, I have my life and soul in this deal. I was told by a big car collector in LA, well, we know you have some help, but it's really on your shoulders, and if you screw up, everybody's going to know it's all your fault. So I'm going to ask you for mercy tonight, and hope that you all come out to the show and have a good time, and come to the gala. It's really going to be a lot of fun. Even if you're not a Trojan, it'll give you a moment of seeing what it's really like to be a Trojan. And I really love it. Like tonight, there's one gentleman, and they introduced him, and it ends up he went to all these other schools, but it ended up that he had to go to SC, to graduate school, to make a living. So at any rate, that's where it is. You know, you're a Bruin for 4 years, you're a Trojan for life. And so come to the gala. It's only $500 a couple. Somewhat tax deductible. We are a 501(c)(3). Enjoy the thing, you get a ticket, you come back in the next day, enjoy the show, and you'll just have a really good time and a great experience, and I hope you're all there. So now, that's the extent of my prepared comments. I can go on for 3 or 4 hours.
Okay. So we are going to revert to an interview format of prepared questions. So I've got a few questions for you. Hopefully you can answer them.
I probably see what he's doing. I'm a loose cannon, so they had to muzzle me a little bit. Okay, David's on my committee, and he's the best. Well, one of the best. I don't want it to go to his head, and so we've had a good time doing. Huh? Right. Okay, go for it. Your first question.
Can you talk about how you first became interested in collecting cars?
I was first infected with the virus when I was probably about 10, 12 years old. We lived next to a movie actress named Rosemary DeCamp. How many of you remember Rosemary DeCamp? Bill Payne, you look Payne. Oh, see, there's people here that are old enough. And this is, if you're raising your hand, you're really old. And so she, her co-star was Bob Cummings. And he had a Rolls Royce, which he sold her. So I'm out on my bicycle riding around town where we lived in Torrance. You didn't see many Rolls Royces. And there it was. So I ran in and asked my mom, what is this thing? And she explained to me that it was the finest car in the world, and that was it. It planted the seed in my mind, and that was it. So that started it, and I've always been interested in cars.
You own a lot of cars. What is it like owning so many vehicles, and would you recommend it for everyone?
Well, what it's like owning them all is like what it's like to be broke all the time. The problem with owning cars is that unlike art, you nail it to the wall, you look at it every once in a while, the maid dusts it. Cars are a constant. It's a living thing. I mean, well, a horse would be worse. But cars are really, believe it or not, I mean, there's not a day that goes by there's not something wrong with something. So it's a continual upkeep, and it gets, when they work, there's nothing like it. And when they don't work, it's really, it's like I know a little girl who had a little curl right in the middle of her forehead, and when she was good, she was very, very good, and when she was bad, she was horrid.
So in addition to running the Motor Classic, you also attend a number of shows. I think recently you had a show in San Diego while you were also in Miami at the same time, right?
Close.
Okay. What's it like getting ready for a big show like, Pebble Beach or whatnot?
Well, most of the shows, including the San Marino Motor Classic, are easy. The judging is fair, but not over the top, and the competition is good, but it's not over the top. So let's say that the regional shows we go to are more like AAA baseball. And San Marino is like, Pebble Beach is like going to the Super Bowl. You are with the best of the best of the best. Every car is a 100-point car. So my wife will tell you I'm pretty miserable that week. You got to take a car up there, and then they have a 70-mile tour you do, which just tears the thing apart. So it came up absolutely pristine clean, and in a mere 3 hours, it looks like it went through the Battle of the Bulge, especially if it's foggy, and then the car gets wet and all the dirt sticks to the car. And then you have about 72 hours to clean it for Sunday morning. So there's a lot of anxiety. Last year we were up there with a car, and about 3 o'clock in the morning I got up and I thought, this car is never going to win anything. Why am I here? Where's she at? Why did we spend all the money? So it's very, very, there's a lot of anxiety. It's high pressure. Winning there is a big deal in the car world. And it'd be like going to the Westchester Dog Show and winning there. Sometimes the cars don't behave any better than the dogs. The first thing you have to do is start your car. So you're really praying there. You got your worry beads there. You're bringing the Reverend here to give us some divine providence. You threaten the car, it'll go to the crusher if it doesn't start. And sometimes it behaves, it starts right up and you're really relieved that it does, and it doesn't backfire, or it's not naughty. And then all your lights have to work, your horn has to work, if you have a radio, it has to work. Everything has to function, and so that's a problem. I've been at shows when all of a sudden they say turn on your lights and you see this flash and your headlight burn out because they don't have sealed the cars I show are pre-war, they don't have sealed headlights. So it's really a lot of anxiety. You're really happy when they leave you alone. They say thank you for bringing the car, and the judges walk off, and then you're wondering what are they saying behind my back. But it's a competition, and I'm competitive, and it's a choice. I could stay home, so I choose to get beaten up.
You started the Motor Classic a little over 6 years ago. Prior to that, it was loosely affiliated with the time slot for the LA Concours d'Elegance. Can you talk a little bit about the history of the Motor Classic, how it got started and whatnot?
Well, for 5 years, the Assistants League of Los Angeles held an event called the Concours d'Elegance of Los Angeles in Pasadena. It made a lot of sense. And they also didn't get the Assistants League in Pasadena involved, so it was kind of weird. The president of the group's husband is a car restorer, and she thought it'd be a really great way to make money. And I got to tell you, most car shows don't make anything. So, for a car show to even make $10,000 is a big deal. A lot of expenses. And the day her term ended, literally that minute, term ended, the new president comes in, and the gal gets up in front of her group, can I have a motion from the floor to abolish the car show? And there was 50 hands. They were happy to see that puppy go. Because they figured they could make more money with a fashion show than they could a car show. And that's fine. I mean, they could. And that's fine. And so myself, Ben Riley, and Paul Colony got together. We were sitting around and we were bored. And we were saying, what are we going to do in June? And there was no car show, and we made some inquiries and found out it was canceled. So we decided that we would do this ourselves. You know, actually, I think they decided that I would do it on their behalf. Is what happened. But at any rate, we did some. You know, it's like anything else. It's you know, for those of you who have put on a wedding, you know what it's like. And that's what it is. It's just a big event. And so we did some inquiries and found out that it was impossible to have the Rose Bowl. They wanted $50,000 just for the golf course that day, because that's what they make a day in green fees. So we were thinking about it, and we came to the city of San Marino because I had a car show meet in Lacey Park, and it was real successful. The library raised $15,000, and they didn't know which end of a car was up. So I thought, well, if they can do it, we can do it. And the city said, that's fine, except we have one requirement, and that is that 25% of the net has to go to a San Marino charity. And that's kind of how we started. We started looking around at charities. A lot of you might ask, why is it the Rotary? And I'll tell you, there's two reasons for it. One, they were foolish enough to volunteer, and the second one is they can bring us 100 day of event volunteers, and this is really important. We couldn't do it without Rotary, and we couldn't do it without the Pasadena Humane Society, because we need 200 people to run the show the day of the event. Sounds like a lot of people, but we run out of people. So anybody here who's bored, wants to do it, let me know. So we put on the show, and here we are 6 years later.
You've raised over $1 million since inception of the Motor Classic. Can you talk about the impact that it's had on both the city as well as the cause that it supports?
Well, I think that everybody's happy. Is anybody not happy with the car show? There could be some. There's always somebody who's not happy. I really thrive on unhappiness. Nothing's worse than having a complacent audience. But I think everybody is pleased. I think the city council is pleased with the money that's come in. It's come to into the city itself. It comes to the schools, and it's whatever Rotary does that's outside of the city. I think none of these are bad causes at all. So I think it's a good thing. We could do more, as I said. I think we could do a lot more. This is the goose that laid the golden egg. If we could just get the support of a lot of people. What it takes to take this to the next level is the influence that everyone in this room has with one person somewhere. Just one person somewhere that could be enticed to contribute to this event. That's all we need. So that's kind of, I think everybody's happy with the money. It'd be hard to believe they wouldn't be happy with the money. And I think by and large, we're grateful that the people around the park are tolerant for 24 hours. I do get some phone calls from people saying, well, gee, we're having a party Saturday night. Do you think you could kind of not park in front of my house? We'll try to do that. But aside from that, I think it's gone very smoothly. We've had no incidents at the car show at all. We've had no crime. We had one person that had the audacity to have a heart attack. But we do have the paramedics there in case. And it's been pretty copacetic.
Last year you launched the first Symphony of Cards. Can you talk about the history of that event as well as what you might have planned for this year beyond what you've told us about already?
Okay. Well, the Symphony of Cars, my wife dragged me to they're sitting here like you are, and up on the screen, there's on the screen below there's the band. And they're showing French Impressionist paintings. Now, being an intellectual pygmy, I really didn't want to sit there and watch it all. And I thought, God, it'd be so much better if they were cars. Why aren't there cars up there? Do I really want to see a Van Gogh? And so I was thinking, this would be a great idea. We'll pick 8 cars, and as I said earlier, we'll play music paired to the cars. We'll have the cars up there instead of a screen. Be cheaper to have the screen, but have the cars. And so that's kind of why we did what we did. And I called Art Bartner, who's the director of the band, for those of you who don't know, and we've known Art for a while. And I've had the challenge of dealing with him before. It's very hard to deal with somebody who has won 6 platinum records, 25 movie rights, just been awarded the #1 collegiate marching band in America, and has done several Olympic opening ceremonies. Did I forget anything, Dan? No, I got it all. Okay, so anyway, when you're dealing with art, you're on his terms. Okay, I mean, but there is a way to every man's heart. It's not what you think. with Dr. Bartner, it's money. So I said to him, well, I think I can give you $30,000. I think we can raise $30,000. And he said, that's a deal. I'll bring the band. There were several requirements. One of them is that Joe Conzaneri had to feed him at the Hat. Oh, where's your brother? Okay, yeah, Joe and Corky. But actually, you had to do it, I think, Saturday too. And so anyway, that was part of the deal, and they enjoyed that, and they came, and I think it was really a good opportunity. So I had lunch with Art afterwards, and I had a check in an envelope sealed. We don't ever want anybody to know before they pick up the lunch bill how much is in there. But anyway, we were one of his haunts, and he opens it up, and he sees, oh my God, there's $40,000. And he says, you know what, I am retiring in 4 years. And he says, this kind of money is good. He has the money goes to basically scholarships, instruments, and uniforms, and some travel expense. And the university gives us, the band, nothing. They don't get any money for any of that. You know, if you go back to Notre Dame or someplace, that money's been raised outside of the university. And so he was really happy. He says, well, I'm putting together a legacy endowment, and I'll do this for the next 4 years, and I'm retiring, and then you got to sell the next guy. So that sounded pretty good. So you're going to have to hear about this for the next 4 years is the deal. But it really worked out. I got to tell you, I guess I do get emotional occasionally, but not very often. And when you sat there and you looked at 300 people in this room, just like you're sitting here now, and the band is playing and people are dancing in their seats, I got to tell you, it was that room was absolutely, positively electrified. Wouldn't you say, Dan? Yes. Even Dan was electrified. Corky was even electrified. Joe was on fire before he'd even started. He was ready to go. And it was really good. I think it worked out extraordinarily well. And I couldn't have done it without, really our staff, our volunteers, Isaac, David, and I hope I didn't, when on the way home, my wife will remind me I forgot somebody, and how rude that was. But you can imagine that. And so we got this event, and I really like it. If I had to choose between the two, I'd stick with the Symphony of Cars. It's much easier to do, and it's a lot of fun. Everybody has a good time. And I think that's what really makes the whole event worthwhile, is all the fun we're having.
So we're going to shift the questions away from the Motor Classic more towards sort of personal life type stuff. So the first one is, though you are best known for your efforts as a car collector, you have also collected other items as well in your past. From your Lionel Train collection to your Royal Dalton character mug collection. What inspired you to begin collecting, and what caused potentially some of these collections to end?
Okay, when you're a collector, you're a collector. I could be a hoarder, but I don't want to set my house on fire. But the truth of the matter is, once you collect, you just collect. It's like you collect the cars. Well, if you have cars, you got to have gas pumps. You have gas pumps, you got to have neon signs. It just goes on and on and on. So throughout my life, I've just collected stuff. And Lionel Trains was a period of time. Kids were growing up. It was an excuse to get the kids to, get everybody together and build the layouts and wire them and teach them how to do things. And it's like anything else in life. You go through stages. And you have a stage where the trains are great and you just live for the trains, and then you get tired of them one afternoon. Somebody came over, we gave our house for some charity event, and the next day the guy calls up and he says, I really loved your trains, would you like to sell them? And I said, make me an offer I can't refuse, and he did. And that was the end of that. I still have the mugs, Royal Dalton character mugs, a far cry from beer steins. And but I don't know, I just collect stuff. I was over at a friend's collection, and he has mostly hot rods and modifieds and things like that, muscle cars, and he has a collection of Bob's Big Boy memorabilia. Now, you think about, why? And you laugh. He's got like this cookie jar, Bob's Big Boy cookie jar, dating back to 1938. I didn't know they were in business in 1938. So I kind of thought about this, and I said, well, that's kind of a classless thing to do. And I made my way through SC at Trader Vic's in Beverly Hills. I find, that was where we found a lot of divine providence. And so I decided, well, if he can have Bob's Big Boy junk, I can have Trader Vic's junk. So we started collecting and collecting and collecting. And it was just, I don't know what it is. It's just really a sickness. I should really start collecting money. That would really be a whole lot better.
In addition to your material collection, you are also very well known in the community for your long run as Scoutmaster for Troop Number 358. Can you talk about that experience and what it was like for all your sons to become Eagle Scouts?
Well, I have a personal belief. I look around the room, there's people who've known me for a long time through scouting. John Osgood here is waiting with bated breath to what I'll say. I just believe you got to be behind your kids, whatever they want to do. Whatever it is, you got to be there. As much as I hated being on the soccer field, or the baseball field, or the football field, or Boy Scout campouts, you got to be there. I mean, that's what they want to do, and they need that support. So there I was volunteering. I didn't expect my term to last so long, but when you've procreated so many kids, I guess you just keep asking to hurry up. But it was really a lot of fun, and again, the fun I had was meeting all the dads and having fun on the campouts, and we really had a good time with the whole thing. In retrospect, I was very happy to do it. It gave my kids and hopefully a lot of other boys in the community an opportunity. I'm still writing recommendations for kids I don't remember. I tell them when they call me up, I said, you're like, it's been like 20 years. You haven't met somebody else that knows you recently? It's kind of like, and I'll impart this with you because it's one of my irks. You get a call from somebody and they say, well, we want to get our kid in the SC. Could you write them a recommendation? I don't know this kid from the Snowman. I've never met him. So what am I supposed to do, right? And I say, well, I'm just going to write a letter that for the last 30 years I've been friends with the candidate's parents, Bill and Mary, and they're really great people, and I've never met this boy, but I'm sure he's, if they're good, he must be too. That's going to really get you in. So the scouting experience was good. I know I did a lot of Eagle boards of review, and that was fun. I've never done anything I really regretted, and that was just another chapter of bringing up 5 children.
In addition to your commitment to your children, you're also deeply committed to a personal fitness regimen. Can you talk about how that got started?
Okay, we're really getting personal here. How shall I put this so my wife doesn't beat me up later? I just feel that you need to, your body is a shrine, and if you don't take care of it, it ain't going to take care of you. And there comes a time in your life when you're going to need your body, and if it's not there for you, well, you're in deep bandini. So I was always wanting to weigh myself 4 or 5 times a day. I realized I was ooching up. Well, for a guy 6'3", weighing 190 pounds, most of you would say, you're looking prosperous. And for me, I just hated it. So some friends said, why don't you ride a bike? You can knock the weight off that way. And I got to tell you, it's unbelievable how fast cycling can get you down to your fighting weight. But that's where I wanted to be. And all of a sudden, I'm cycling, and I get on the scale, and I'm 175. I think that's pretty good. And then about 2 months later, I get back on the scale, and I'm 165, and I know this is pretty good. And then I go to the doctor, and they do all your vitals and the blood workups. And the guy said, God, you're pretty healthy. And I said, yeah, I plan to outlive you. And so at any rate, I think that I'm very I'm very focused in whatever I do. I don't like to waste a lot of time. I suffer fools poorly. And so every day I get up, and before I do anything, I throw on a workout outfit and go out. And I got hit by a car, so that wasn't very good. And I kind of figured, well, if I'm trying to stay in good shape, how does getting hit by a car really further that? And it really doesn't, especially if you start breaking bones and things. Ribs are really a bear. For those of you who haven't broken ribs, don't. And so anyway, I just work out every day, and I do 100 minutes mostly I do 100 minutes on what is a Le Mans trainer. So this is a trainer which professional cyclists would use as opposed to a spinning bike or a stationary bike or a life cycle. And then on alternate days, I'll do where I want to be. So I haven't had to buy any new clothes in a long time because my weight has stayed the same, and so that's been pretty good. So I just encourage everybody. I know that cycling like I do is not for everybody, but I would just encourage everybody to find something to do, whether it's walking or running or swimming or, I don't know, jumping up and down and screaming at people, whatever you enjoy. If you don't enjoy it, you won't do it. You know, that's what I tell people, that I used to ride around the Rose Bowl, and there's these people, and they're doing laps around the Rose Bowl. Some are walking, some are jogging, some are running. You look in their faces, and it was like, well, we went to the doctor 3 days ago, and he told us we got to work out. And they're hating every moment of this. It's like, God, I'd rather just drop dead than do this. So it's really important, two things if you're going to work out. One, find something you really enjoy. And counting money is nice too, but it's low calorie, but it gets your fingers going. And the other thing is, don't get in too far too quick. In other words, if somebody goes home and says, well, if that skinny little bastard can ride 50 miles a day or whatever, I'm going to do it too. I guarantee you won't last the end of the month, end of the week. Because after one workout, you'll come in, you'll be so sore and it'll hurt so bad, you'll say, I'm never doing this again. So it's important you work into it. So I think keeping yourself, what's the Boy Scout? The Boy Scout, not the motto, the law, okay, let's have it, physically fit. Yeah, yeah. So anyway, there it is. Bruce, you let me down. And so that's the deal. You got to take. If you don't take, trust me, if you don't take care of yourself, nobody else will.
So Aaron, you've been married to your beautiful wife Valerie for 40 years?
No, I've been married to my wife for 40 years, 3 months, 19 days, and 8 hours and 4 minutes.
So how did you meet? What was your secret to a long and healthy marriage? And how does Valerie really feel about the cars?
The secret to a long marriage is compromise. But being married to me is not easy, as you've learned in the last 30 minutes. I think the hardest thing were the cars, and I'd come home with these cars like people come home with stray cats. Except the car costs a little bit more than the cat. And I was really a louse. Oh, I know that. But Val would really beat me up over it. We don't have an open enough marriage. I'm not sharing, and all these other soft, fuzzy things that really didn't appeal much to me. And we went to a couple of car events, and she found out that none of the other wives knew when their husbands bought cars. So all of a sudden I went up in the rankings. I was okay. So the best story, you want a car story, we were in Amelia Island. No, we were in Michigan for a car show. And there's this car, 1931 Chrysler Imperial, car we took to Pebble last year, and it's sitting up on this riser, and it's cardinal and gold. The interior is butterscotch. Okay, so Val goes nuts. I got to have this car. What? And we were the high bidder, but it didn't meet its reserve. So we decided to leave. And as we're leaving, we're going through the lobby. The auction galleries are a room like this. They have a stage with cars on them. And Val excuses herself to go to the ladies' room, and the owner of RM Auctions walks by, Rob Myers, and I said, what are you going to do with that car? And he says, well, what do you want to do? And I said, well, I was the high bidder. I'll give you an extra $5. Can you make it work? Because we were under the reserve. He says, you got a deal. And I said, well, I didn't bring any money with me. I don't have a check. In fact, I'm on assistance at the moment. And he says, don't worry about it, we'll ship it. Just when you get home, send me a check. So that sounded like a pretty good deal. And Val comes out of the bathroom and we go on our way. I just forgot to tell her about the car. You're laughing, this is true. We forgot to tell her about the car. So, you know, the events of the day and just seeing her, just my mind went numb. So we're back. Fast forward about 2 months, she comes up to see me at the warehouse, and she's counting the cars. How many cars do we have? Okay, and how many are out being worked on? Okay. There's one too many here. I said, I don't know. My math isn't as good as yours. So she's looking. That one. I've seen that one before. I said, yeah, you did, at Michigan. It was there. Oh, that's the car. Wait a minute. I was with you the entire time. I never left you. How could you have bought that car? And I said, because you went to the bathroom. So we've had a really good time. You know, it sounds awful, you know. But I got to tell you that Valerie, I have a reputation of being a real trophy hound. That's not the word they use, but it's close. And so I decided, why would you want to win just one trophy a day when you can win 2? So Mr. Osgood and I go up to, remember we went up to Hillsborough? Yeah, I almost killed him on a bike ride. And at the same time, my restorer is taking a car down what was the Dana Point concourse. And Val gets up in the morning and she kind of says, well, I don't like showing cars when the owners aren't there. So she gets dressed and runs down, and the car wins Best in Show down in Dana Point, and that did it to her. She loved being photographed with the car and getting the trophy and everything. And so after that, it was a pretty easy deal getting her to go to something. And so we've been able to work out the problems.
All right, so both you and Val are extremely active in the local community. How do you both stay so committed, and how is it possible to manage and coordinate such a busy set of calendars?
I'm not involved in the community. I do this Motor Classic, and that's enough for me. Valerie has the same disease with regard to charities that I have with cars. And as I said earlier, the key to a long marriage is compromise. You know, if you're too rigid, it's just not going to work, and you all know that. So that's how she does her thing, I do my thing, she supports me. Not the way I want to be supported, but she supports me, morally supports me, and I support her, both morally and otherwise.
Predating even your marriage to Valerie is your long-standing relationship the two of you have with USC. Can you talk about your relationship with this institution and some of the former students that may be in the audience?
You can look at me. My best student in the world was a skinny little thing with dark black hair named Isaac Hung. And I taught a class called, what was that, personal economics. And I told him, and Isaac now is a multi-billionaire, and I tell him every time I see him that he owes it all to me and everything he learned in the class. But it was really a good time, and like I say, you do all these things in your life. None of it is really, I don't think any of it was really outstanding, but it was just a time when I thought that was a great thing to do, is teach. But Val and I have been really involved at SC since we got married. Immediately joined some support group that she dragged me to a dinner, and I said, if you go to the dinner and you get a free dinner, you're going to have to join. You don't take a meal and not join. And, oh no, don't worry about it. You won't have to do anything. We'll just see check it out. And of course, they sit us next to her high school gym teacher or something. And at the end of the dinner, in a loud voice, the gal turns to Val, and won't you be joining us in our group? And I found myself writing my first check to USC. And I don't know, I just always got, if I do something, I gotta tell you, it's not halfway. It's either all or nothing. And so for, I don't know how long it was, I was really involved. I was on board of governors and associates board. I met Dan Angeloff and chaired homecoming, did all kinds of junk, whatever they wanted me to do. I even tried to, at SC, everything, they like to have everything with SC. So there's SCAMP, that was the family camp. They have scuppers, these are the SC. See, are you getting this all? SC. So I wanted to have scaskets. And that would be cardinal and gold caskets that you could be buried in. They didn't like that. That was kind of the end of my, that was the end, but they had them at the University of Alabama, and I thought, well, this is a good idea. There's some loyal Trojans that would want to be buried in a cardinal and gold casket, right, Dan? And so, see, we have a customer right here. So I wasn't that far off. And so we just got involved, and it's really been great. Whatever we've gotten involved in, I think whether it's City Club or whatever you do, you meet a lot of other people and new people with new interests, new outlooks on life, and I think it's just really great to do that. And like I said, you go through phases in your life, and being obsessive compulsive, if I find something I like to do, I just go nuts.
We'll go two more quick questions before you turn it over to the audience for some questions. From the Scouts to your preparation for car shows to the Motor Classic to your incredible organizational skills, you seem to be able to break down seemingly overwhelming undertakings into much smaller, structured, methodical chunks. How did you develop that skill?
My mother. My mom, right, Val, is the most focused human being you ever saw in your life, and just really on track, and I was brought up with that. So the best deal, you guys need a story, right? Because it's boring otherwise. So for years we had boys' night out. You can identify with this, Dan. Up at my warehouse, we'd have about 125, 130 guys come up, and I would get them drunk and feed them dinner and send them home. And the purpose of this was, well, I hadn't quite figured out what the purpose of it was, but I did it. And I had a bunch of wimpy friends. And they can't go out at night without their wife, because there were whores and harlots and tramps and God knows what at this event. And I can assure you that there weren't. Okay, I wouldn't even let anybody play poker because I didn't want anybody to leave. So I got browbeaten, and I finally acquiesced, and I said, okay, we'll have boys and girls night out. That took care of all the wimps. Now the good news, Dan, was when we had boys and girls night out, everybody RSVP'd like this. But the guys, when you sent them out the invitations, oh, it was like pulling teeth to get these guys to RSVP. So I'd send out the first one, gentlemen, you're cordially invited to boys night out, blah, blah, blah. And they wouldn't, the date came and went, and you kind of have to make provisions. Cater kind of has to know how many people. So I'd cross out on the email, gentlemen, and I would put in another word and send it back out. It was amazing how fast everybody, oh, Aaron, we're so sorry, don't take us off the list. So anyway, we had this Christmas party. We've got to get back to the point here. And Val wanted to be involved in it because no man can put on a decent Christmas party, right? Isn't that true? All the women here, you would never entrust your husband to put on it and see this one saying no. And Val was, oh, she was mad at me. I'm not sharing. I'm not sharing. 5 phone calls. Okay, caterer, Jacob Morris, Dolphin Reynolds, the USC School of Music, because we had some entertainment, and Bevmo. So every woman who walked in there, Val, who was a friend of Val would say, I don't know what he's doing. I just hope we're not eating Cheetos and ginger ale. And there they walked in, and there were tablecloths, and there was china, and there was silver, and there were nice centerpieces. And so I was let off but you just have to look at everything, organize it, and knock it down. If not, we couldn't do anything. The Motor Classic wouldn't happen if I wasn't, I don't mean to pat myself on the back, but you just got to be organized in order to do stuff. If you're not organized, you're walking around in circles. You go nowhere.
So last question, lasting legacy of the Motor Classic, then we'll turn over to the audience for a couple questions.
Oh,
What's the lasting legacy?
lasting legacy of Motor Classic. How much money can we raise for the city of San Marino? People, the citizens of San Marino. I think that's the deal. That's what this is about. That's what I think of every day. I got to face 100 Rotarians a couple times a year, and they'll beat the daylights out of me if they don't think they're going to get that money. And then I'm afraid, I go over to the Humane Society, and they're going to let all the stray dogs out at me if I don't write them a big check. So that's the deal. When you leave, the one thing I really, really, really want to impart is your participation, whether you're a Rotarian or you hate dogs, you hate cars. It's possible all three, is that this is a community event. And I want to make it a community event. It's open to everybody, and that everybody's participation, everybody's contribution will make it a better event, and it'll only benefit our city and our community and the people in it. So I appreciate your putting up with me for an hour.
Any burning questions from the audience?
Yes, Mr. Payne.
So part of Rotary's appreciation for the money that it's received the past 5 shows has been a contribution back to the city to improve the restrooms. So Isaac, how much money was it?
That was about $35,000.
So when you go to the park and use the bathrooms, think of the Motor Classic. Yes, ma'am.
What was the criteria for picking out the cars for the event?
Well, okay, I'll give you, the truth is $100. But but we got everybody, this is about money. Just let's be clear here. We're lucky we get the cars we do. I can't explain why. Because we just do. It just happens every year. I go, huh? We have categories. We have a committee, and they decide what categories we're going to have, and then we put together a brochure, we put it online, we mail it out to people, and we pray like hell that they submit their cars. So some years I get beaten up by people, like last year we might have had a MG class because we thought it'd be a good idea, but we may not repeat it for another year or two because when you come, we want you to see different cars. So we're not consistent every year, but we kind of change it. There's certain meat and potato classes that we'll have, like American Classics, European Classics, Woodies, we're going to have every year, but we might change things a little bit. So this year we're having Italian sports cars, we're having Ferraris, but we have a separate class for Alphas and Fiats and stuff. So each year it changes a little bit. And then if somebody calls me up and they really feel personally insulted that I didn't include a class for their car, then we'll say, well, you come up with 8 cars. We need 8 cars for each class. And we'll say, okay, you find me 8 cars, we'll give you the class. So I never know exactly where I'm going to end up, but I have a bunch of guys putting together little side classes. Yeah, Steve?
2 questions. From how far does the farthest entrance come? And I know that the event has been sanctioned by various organizations in the past. That might have changed. I can't recall because I'm not a car guy. But could you explain the sanctioning process if it's been in existence in the past?
Okay, the first one is easy. We feel we have a 60-mile radius from San Marino. There are people I have some friends who are out of state, and if I bribe them and cry enough, they'll bring a car. So there'll be a guy from Texas bringing a car, there's some people from Northern California, but by and large, those cars are going to come. If you drew a 60-mile loop around San Marino being the epicenter, that's where the cars come from. The way to get the cars is through the car clubs. So in other words, the Classic Car Club of America, which represents all American and European cars that were from 1915 to 1946, we get their support and they get their members to bring cars. So that's how we were quote unquote sanctioned. There's no real sanctioning body that we have to submit to be, I mean, you can have a car show, you don't need to be sanctioned. There are some organizations that do sanction, Sports Car Club of America. You could have a car show, get them to sanction you, you'd have to judge on their terms. They have parameters, but by and large, each show pretty much does their own thing. By and large, the car clubs, Ferrari Club of America, Ferrari Owners Club, there's guys who are members, they're involved in that world, and they solicit the cars from the club, and that's how we get them. So if you see, for instance, electric cars, I talked to a guy today, he's going to bring an electric car, and I said, well, you'll be the only one, I don't like that. He says, not a problem, I'll find 5 to 7 more. Okay, fine, so now we'll have an electric car class. And we're not talking about Teslas here, we're talking about Bakers and older stuff. Yes, sir.
What's the year the old Franklin was made?
Joe? Franklin's. When were Franklin's made?
Early teens, I don't know when they stopped.
I think mid-20s. I'm going to guess mid-20s.
Thank you.
My pleasure. Yes, ma'am.
Ma'am?
Okay, you old hag, thanks. Yes, Marianne.
Thank you.
How do you get your judges?
We bribe them. There are people, there are guys that just like to judge, and they've judged and judged and judged over the years, and they each have developed an expertise in a certain brand of car and a certain period of the car, and that's their hobby. You know, they don't show, generally guys who judge don't bring cars to the show. They may own cars, but generally they just come to judge and we feed them. That's how we get them there. We give them some goodies. We get a goodie bag and some food, and we get them.
Last question. If there aren't any more questions, last question. How much is our ticket for the Motor Classic? There was someone texted that in.
If you buy it from your local Rotary member before the event, they're $25. At the gate, they're $30. And there's VIP tickets so that you can come in and have a gourmet lunch, get under a tent, enjoy a glass of wine, a craft beer, $125. If you buy a ticket to the gala, that gets you into the car show. Doesn't get you in the VIP tent, but gets you in the car show the next day. If you have any questions, you can call me, email me, grab me before I run out of here, whatever. But we hope to see you all there, and I appreciate you spending the evening listening to me.
On behalf of the City Club, we just want to say thank you. Here's another trophy for you.
Another trophy. Okay, thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Aaron. Thank you all for coming. Don't forget to come to our next dinner meeting, which will be on May 17th. Our speaker will be Dr. Thomas Rosenbaum, who's the president of Caltech. Have a good evening.